Welcome back to the channel. It's time to talk about the very best comic books that you can read this week. And if you're into good comic books, you are into indie comics this week. Nothing from DC. We got 2 Marvel comics, but we have 6 big indie comic books to talk about with some familiar names on them. And here to do that with me is Drew from Comics Lead. How you doing, Drew?
Doing great, Wes. Yeah, we're getting ready to wrap up Born of Blood 3 Special Edition on Kickstarter here in a few days, but I still make time to read some good books this week. So let's talk about those good books.
Well, that means that you're really into Mark Millar. His first comic book we're going to recommend, Magic Order, Volume 4, Number 1, Image Comics. Mark Millar, Dyke Ruin on art on this one. This is a follow-up directly into Volume Number 3, the fallout of Cordelia kicking her brother out of the Order. And it turns out a coup is afoot. If you like these characters and you don't want to see bad things happen to them, you should not read this comic book. There are some really, really disgusting things that happen to characters that you actually care about. You can't just kick your brother out of the Order and get away with it. You know what I mean?
No, you can't. There's going to be some reciprocity. And the creative deaths in this, it really took me back to Volume 1 of Magic Order. And there's one in particular that involved, I think it was on an oil rig or whatever, and water. And I love that one. That was the best one. But this was like the Empire Strikes Back of the Magic Order right now, where everyone's just kind of getting taken out one by one by one. And I loved it. It was great. The dialogue, the pacing, the art is terrific. Yeah, you guys got to check this out. Mark Millar, he may or may not have another one on our list this week, but he's firing on all cylinders creatively right now. And please, you guys got to jump on the bandwagon for him. He is the killer. Can't miss out on this guy.
He's had a pretty decent last 8 to 9 months with King of Spies. Obviously, Nightclub came out. We've got Nemesis Reloaded, Magic Order Volume 3 coming out, and also the next one, American Jesus Revelation number 3, Image Comics, Mark Millar, Peter Gross, Tom Coker on this one.
Finally, after almost 20 years, nearly, the story finally wraps up. This is the end. We see the dark origin of the Antichrist in this, and the choices his mother was given, and it's pretty effed up with the choice she was given. But we have angels blowing horns to bring about the dead to be judged. It's Judgment Day. So Christ and the Antichrist, they have their final confrontation, and it's actually very interesting. Both give their POVs on life and humanity, and they're quite the opposite of what I'd expect from what I read. This was a very solid wrap-up and an ending that I enjoyed and felt very fitting for a story such as this. Yeah, this is a strong recommend from me.
So for those of you who think that Mark Millar's been phoning it in now that he's a Netflix executive, that is not the case. I think he's putting out more great content now than he ever has in his career. It's just weird.
It absolutely is. Yeah, and don't never count this guy out. There was a period there in the mid 2000s where it's like, he's kind of phoning it in now, but he's having a big career resurgence right now, and I'm glad of it. The comic industry as a whole needs him firing all cylinders, and he's doing that right now.
Another creator that was having a career renaissance with Valiant Comics, Cullen Bunn, Book of Shadows number 3, Vicente Cifuentes on art on this one. I was really excited about the Cullen Bunn Shadow Man series that led into this. I was excited about the first couple of issues of Book of Shadows, but I'll be honest, I didn't read this because I forgot it was coming out.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, because this is what happens when your company is putting out one comic a month, if you're lucky. I think I told Kyle, I think the last one of this came out back in October, maybe September. I forget when the last one came out, but it picks up where it left off. I got the big baddie, Exarch Fane, with the Book of Shadows versus the Valiant Defenders, and it's not going too well. They're doing their best to stop him from forging that chain of ruin, but can they do it in time? And at the same time, we've got our team. They still can't really trust each other, and by the end, it looks like can a certain character say no to an offer that others may have taken from Exarch Fane? I really enjoyed this. The art is solid dialogue and pacing. It's a shame Valiant isn't putting out more books like this, and publishers aren't putting out more books like this. This is a solid read. But you guys got to be checking out at least this one book from Valiant Comics, Book of Shadows.
As a Valiant fan, this is definitely the best thing they put out in 3 or 4 years. It's unfortunate it's coming out quarterly, maybe. Maybe it's coming out biannually. I'm not really sure, but it's not coming out very often. I forgot about it. Definitely going to go check that one out. Something that a lot of people are going to like, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers TMNT Volume 2, Number 2 from Boom Studios, Ryan Parrott with Dan Mora. I am not a big Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan. My wife is big into that, but I do like TMNT. And this is probably the best Power Rangers art I've ever seen in a comic book. and it might be the best TMNT art I've seen like in a really long time. The art in this is fucking mind blowing.
Yep. So I had to say, Dan Mora, that's what you get, baby. And I read issue 1. Issue 1 was all right. It was a big setup issue. Not much happened. But in issue 2 of this, it just, the action scenes in this are crazy. They're great. Casey Jones has gone with the bad guys. He's his own Power Ranger now. He's got his own Ranger suit, and he's siding with Krang, and it's fun. And there's a huge invasion of the Ranger Station toward the end. There's a great cliffhanger at the end as well. This is what I wanted from this series. Is what I wanted to read from issue 1, and they're back on track. Dan Mora is killing it. You really try to think of other interior artists who are killing it right now. It's Dan Mora and Jorge Jimenez. I'm trying to think of a close third, maybe Daniel Warren Johnson. But finding a strong artist like this on multiple titles at once, Dan Mora is a rare breed right now. You guys cannot miss out on this book. It is so well illustrated and so well told, and just a kick-ass action comic.
Yes, if you're a fan of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and you want to see them look great, like I'm not a fan, and I say that looks amazing. If the TV show was as serious and as badass as this comic book, I would have been into it. It's so amazing. Speaking of something a lot of people are going to know about, from Source Point Press, Good Boy Volume 3, Number 3, Christina Blanche, Garrett Gunn, Kit Wayless on art on this one. This is the third iteration. It started out as John Wick, but backwards. What if the human was killed and the dog got revenge? And now we've moved well long past that. We're like into 007 spy territory.
Yeah, Volume 1, like you said, it was just like the John Wick movies, but it was okay, because if you saw the John Wick movies, you knew what to expect. But Volume 2 took a great twist where he started getting into his past, his military missions. When he was younger, and it's like, oh my god, this is a great stuff. And this Volume 3, got some spy stuff going on with this too. And in this issue, it is like a full-on shoot 'em up, beat 'em up, grind 'em up, blow 'em up issue. This was crazy. Like all I'm going to say is, if you have a testosterone deficiency, this is the cure for it. This is it. Let's do it right here. And by the end of this issue, someone's loved one may be in a wee spot of trouble. Gunn, Blanche, and Wallace, they did it again. This is a kick-ass series. You guys do have to check this out, especially if you're a John Wick fan. Yeah, Good Boy Volume 3, Number 3.
Drew says it'll put hair on your balls. That ought to be enough for you if that's what you're looking for. Also from Source Point Press, Cullen Bunn is doing great work when he's doing horror-type stuff. This week we got Nightwalkers number 1 with Colin Johnson on the art here, and it looks like we have some more horror stuff. So Cullen Bunn is right in his wheelhouse.
This was a very interesting read. So why I say that is because how this comic starts off, it's like a James Tynion comic. And by that, I mean there's a bunch of 20-year-old insufferable assholes in a confined place who bicker with each other. This is where it gets better. This is where you get the twist. By that, I mean something exciting happens before you get to the 6th or 10th issue of the series, unlike James Tynion. By the staple point of this comic, we've got bodies dropping, we got bloods, we got guts, we got monsters. It's a legit survival story. So I have to give this a recommend because Cullen Bunn has figured out storytelling where Tynion hasn't. You guys do have to check this out. This is not decompressed. This is a great horror comic. Nightwalkers number 1, Cullen Bunn is killing it.
Man, Cullen Bunn at Marvel Comics, I used to make fun of him a lot, and I think he earned all of those mockings. But my goodness, when that guy gets himself on like a horror-related something, he absolutely turns into another writer. So job well done, sir. Let's go over to the big 2. By the big 2, I only mean Marvel this week. We got nothing from DC to recommend. Sins of Sinister, number 1, Kieran Gillen, Lucas Wernick. I came into this expecting actually not to like it. I didn't even not come in with expectations. I expected this would be as bad as Axe Judgment Day, also by Kieran Gillen, in another X-Men, big event type thing. This has got the Avengers in and everything too. I'm shocked how much I like this. I don't want to get into too many details. Monday, Doc and I are going to talk about this comic book in full, all the stuff that we liked about it. There are a couple things I didn't love, but I actually came away with much to praise with Sins of Sinister number 1. Shocked.
Yeah, it's quite the tongue twister. You say the title out loud. But yeah, I would like you did. I read typically what I predict to be the worst comics first. And naturally, this was the first one I read because I was expecting to roast the hell out of this. But yeah, imagine my shock when just how much fun I had reading this on every page. I'm like, oh my God, they went there. They did that. And now bear in mind, we're judging this on this issue alone. this issue alone, it is the strongest it recommends. Now, when it comes to the second issue, the follow-up or whatever, it could completely fall off the cliff. We've seen that happen before. It could very well happen. But by this issue alone, what they presented to us, what they're showing, the consequences, some time, like what they're showing in throughout time, what's happened to the world and certain races, it's like, this is huge. This is great. There are actual consequences and stakes now with this. This is amazing. And the twist Karen Gillan has done, it's like, this is what I've wanted. This is arguably one of the best X books in the last 3-4 years right now. And which isn't saying much, really. But you guys do need to give this a shot. Do check this out. If you've been more or less jaded like us by a lot of the X books and just how crappy they've been, you should like this. This should bring you back, this one issue alone, because what they're doing here, this is what a lot of us have wanted, and they're giving it to us. And I got to give Karen Gillan all the compliments. He's telling a great kickoff issue right here for this event. Do check this out.
I will say temper your expectations, because Axe Judgment Day #1 wasn't really all that bad. It just got progressively worse as the series went along. But this is a really strong start. There's some really cool stuff in here. I think people are going to like it. The last comic book, I'm definitely recommending this one, Doctor Strange, Fall Sunrise #3, Tradd Moore, writing and illustrating. This is a great comic book to look at. It is a visual spectacle with what Tradd Moore is doing with Doctor Strange and all the things that are going on here. It's quite epic in scope. I will give him that. There is a downfall to this. I think it's going to read much better as a trade, because I'm continuously lost on what exactly has happened. And I have to go to the previous issues to figure out what the hell, like, where did this come from? It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about that part. Because he's stuffed so much stuff in here, but it's like really good. It's really meaty. It just probably shouldn't be released as singles. It should have been a trade.
Yeah, it probably should have been like maybe a treasury size edition or magazine size edition from Marvel, by Tradd Moore. It would have been great. Yeah, what he's doing here, he's doing some serious world building here, like Jonathan Hickman X-Men world building here, like different, more or less, magical alien creatures and their races, their cities, where they're from, and it's pretty wild and creative. And like you said, the art in this is fantastic. He is one of those great, artists right now that is truly original and talented. But the story, yeah, it would read better collected as a trade, but individually, yeah, I was lost reading it because I had to go back and try to remember some of these names and people. I'm like, wait, have I seen him before? I think so. Hopefully, you've read the previous issues, but if you haven't, you will be lost. So be prepared for that. So make sure you do have them on hand. But if you look at the art, you're going to enjoy it.
Yeah. So those are our recommends this week. Shockingly, Sins of Sinister might have been the strongest comic book of the week. I still say Magic Order, Volume 4, #1 was better, because there are a lot of consequences that are being felt within that world. But Sins of Sinister, mind blown. Didn't think it would be that good. Now, Drew, you and I, along with your mates over there at Comics Elite and some various comic book artists and stuff, are in an NFL playoff fantasy football league. I'm in 4th or 5th. You're number 2.
Yes.
Who's beating you up so badly in #1?
That would be my little brother Kyle. Unfortunately, he's number 1. I'm 2. He came out of nowhere with Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback, and who had a great game.
Joe Burrow went to the Super Bowl last year. Is that really out of nowhere?
I don't think people were expecting him to play as well as he did in the snow in Buffalo. I think they were expecting him to have,
I started Josh Allen. I thought he was going to do it with the running and everything.
Yes. Yeah. Nope. It flip-flopped. It's just
somehow Kyle is he's housing all of us. But I'm sure beating you is probably the cherry on top for him.
Yes, it is. Yeah, he just looks at. He doesn't have to say a word. He just looks at me, and it's like, yeah, okay, all right, that's how it is. That's how it's going to be. All right, let's see how it goes this week.
We'll have another update next week after this weekend's playoffs. Obviously, I'm rooting for the Chiefs. Are you rooting for the Chiefs?
I'm rooting for the Bengals. I love Joe Burrow. Burrow,
get out of here.
You're
an LSU fan now.
You can't help but like this kid. He's got that swagger.
He's a douchebag. I don't have to like him.
That swagger, that confidence. He's not afraid to smoke stogies after he wins. He wears Seinfeld pants. I like Seinfeld fans. And he's a winner. And he plays well in difficult situations, especially in Buffalo in the winter in the snow. So I think he can handle the Chiefs with a barely walking Patrick Mahomes.
You make me sick. those are our recommendations for the week and a little bit of information regarding our fantasy football playoff league that we're going through. I'm not in last, but I'm certainly not winning, and Kyle is absolutely housing Drew right now. As far as more videos, if you're like, hey, Wes, I would like something else. YouTube looked at your history and what I've made and decided this is the perfect video I ever made for you. You should definitely check this out if you want some more thinking critical YouTube. Go check it out now.